everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on AI, specifically all this buzz around a company called DeepSeek and their new model. It's kind of wild. Like, even the regular news is using AI terms, things like distillation and MoE.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. DeepSeek's really hit a nerve. And not just like with the tech people, it seems like everyone's paying attention.
Oh, for our listener, let's sort of break these terms down a bit. What about this distillation thing? Does that have anything to do with chemistry?
Well, it's a good analogy, I guess. It's like, imagine you have like this crazy detailed college lecture, like pages and pages, and you boil it all down into just one page of notes. But the notes still have all the important stuff.
Oh, okay, I see. So DeepSeek is basically making their AI models like way more efficient, like less is more kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like less is more, but smarter.
Gotcha. And how about MoE? That sounds kind of like a secret code almost.
Yeah, MoE. So that stands for Mixture of Experts. It's basically like instead of having one giant AI model that tries to do everything,
Right.
it's like having a whole team of specialists. Like each of them is the best in their own area.
Oh, so it's like if you had a math whiz and a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, a poet maybe, all working together.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm guessing this makes the whole model run faster and cheaper.
You got it. DeepSeek is saying their models are much cheaper to run than like OpenAI's, for example. And there's this number going around like $5.57 billion to train their V3 model, compared to 10 times that much for Meta's Llama.
Wow, that's a huge difference. So does that mean they've like cracked the code to make AI actually affordable?
Well, maybe not so fast. The initial cost of training might be lower, but the experts are saying it's not that simple. There's more to it, Like developing a sophisticated AI model isn't just about doing one training and you're done.
So what else should we be considering then?
Well, think of it like building a house. The initial build is a big cost for sure, but then there's still all the other stuff, maintenance and updates and maybe even additions later on.
Oh, right. So it's not just about looking at the initial price tag.
Exactly. And even the big players like NVIDIA and Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, they're acknowledging that DeepSeek has potential, but, they're also saying widespread use would still need a lot of computing power, like serious computing power.
But this whole cheaper cost thing is a bit more nuanced than the headlines make it seem.
Right, exactly.
But it does feel like DeepSeek has I don't know, they've got everyone talking about AI in a different way.
For sure. I mean, maybe they didn't even mean to, but they've really got everyone talking about the details of AI and how it all works. Even all this debate about the cost is sort of pushing the whole field forward,
Yeah, it's like they threw a rock in the pod and now we're seeing all the ripples. So what else is interesting about this whole DeepSeek thing?
One thing I think is really cool is it's not just the tech stuff they're doing. It's how they're changing the whole AI game.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they've embraced this open source approach with some of their tech. So they're making parts of their code, like the algorithms and stuff, available for anyone to use and build upon.
Wait, open source. So are they giving away their secret sauce?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's a pretty gutsy move, for sure. Because for a long time, cutting-edge AI, that was all happening to these giant tech companies.
Right, like Google and all those guys.
Exactly. They had all the money and computers and data and all that. It was like a super exclusive club.
So DeepSeek is shaking things up a bit.
Yeah, totally. By making their work open source, they're letting smaller companies and even just regular people get in on AI development at a much higher level.
Wow, that's pretty revolutionary. What do you think this means for the future of AI?
Honestly, it could be huge. Imagine if AI isn't just controlled by a few big companies, but anyone can work on it. There'd be so much creativity and new stuff we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, instead of a few giants making all the decisions, be a whole ecosystem of AI development. That's pretty exciting.
It is. Think about healthcare or education, even entertainment, like medicine tailored to your DNA, AI tutors that figure out how you learn best, virtual worlds that are so real you can't tell the difference. I mean, who knows?
That's pretty wild. But with all this open source stuff and democratizing AI, are there any downsides we should be thinking about?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you make powerful technology more available, you got to think about what could go wrong.
Right. What should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, think about it. It's not just about making AI more accessible. It's making sure people use it responsibly, ethically.
Right. You're giving everyone a powerful tool, but also got to make sure they know how to use it safely.
Exactly. So we need to be talking about safeguards and making sure AI is used for good and all that.
So DeepSeek is doing some cool stuff and pushing the limits of AI, but it sounds like there's some big questions too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's complicated and there are no easy answers, but it's definitely got us all thinking.
Yeah. And speaking of DeepSeek's journey, it seems like their rise has kind of kicked off a global AI race.
Yeah, the geopolitical side of all this is super interesting.
It's not just about who's got the biggest or most advanced AI anymore. It's about who can actually use it the best and what that means for the whole world.
Right, like you've got the US and China and Russia all trying to be number one in AI. And DeepSeek coming in with their new ways of doing things and being cheaper and all. It could change everything.
So how does this open source thing play into all this? Could it make things more fair or just more complicated?
That's the big question. By sharing their tech, DeepSeek might actually speed up how fast AI knowledge spreads around the world.
Wouldn't that be a good thing, though? More people working on it means faster progress, right?
It could be, but it could also mean bad guys getting their hands on powerful AI tools. It's stiff to say.
So it sounds like DeepSeek's impact goes way beyond just technology.
It really does. I mean, they're changing how we think about intellectual property and competition and global power.
Wow, they've really shaken things up. But with all this hype and speculation, I'm wondering what they've actually done. Like, what concrete impacts can we actually point to?
That's a good question. And it's something a lot of people are wondering about. I mean, they've created a lot of buzz, but it is early days when it comes to like actually seeing it being used, like in the real world.
Right. So no self-driving cars powered by DeepSeek yet.
Not quite. But there are some cool things happening. For example, there are some smaller tech companies that have started using DeepSeek stuff, like their AI models, especially for things like language processing and image recognition.
Oh, wow. Can you give me like a specific example? I'm curious how this actually works.
Sure. So there's this one company, they're using DeepSeek's technology to make a language learning app. It's supposed to be really good at personalizing the lessons and giving feedback in real time. And then there's this startup that's making an AI tool for doctors. To help with diagnosis, it uses DeepSeek's image recognition to analyze scans and stuff.
So it sounds like maybe DeepSeek isn't like a household name yet, but their tech is starting to show up in some pretty interesting places.
Yeah, exactly.
But what makes DeepSeek different from everyone else in AI? Like, what's their big thing?
That's the big question, isn't it? I think one of the coolest things about them is how focused they are on efficiency. Remember those terms we talked about, distillation and MoE? They're all about making AI models use less resources, which could totally change how we think about AI.
Right. So if their tech doesn't need as much computer power and it's cheaper, does that give them an advantage, like with developers and startups?
Oh, totally. Because it's much easier for people to start playing with their tech and building stuff with it. So more people might start using their models, which means more innovation in all kinds of industries.
It's crazy how fast they've made a splash in the AI world. I mean, they've got everyone talking about costs and accessibility and global stuff. It makes you wonder what's next for them.
Yeah, where do they go from here? That's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, they've definitely set a high bar, and the AI field is super competitive. There are new breakthroughs all the time, so they've got to keep innovating to stay ahead.
So it's not just about riding the wave of their success. They need to keep pushing the limits and kind of anticipating what's coming next.
Exactly, and they have to be careful about the ethics and the impact on society. Like we talked about, making AI more accessible means making sure it's used for good.
It seems like DeepSeek's story kind of sums up where AI is in general. It's exciting and unpredictable and full of potential, both good and bad. So what do you think, for our listeners, what's the most important thing to take away from all this?
I think the most important thing is AI isn't just a sci-fi thing anymore. It's real, and it's changing fast. And it's going to have a big impact on all of our lives, whether we realize it or not. So we need to stay informed and ask questions and talk about the ethical stuff, because we all have a part to play in shaping the future with AI.
That's a great point. DeepSeek's story is a good example of how complex and how full of potential this new era is. It reminds us that technology isn't just about the tech itself, it's about people and choices and the kind of future we want. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. And until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.